Hey, good morning. Happy to see you. I wish I could see you. Okay. So, how are you? I'd love to hear how you're doing. And I'm going to answer messages hopefully here pretty soon. I have a bunch of office work I need to do today, but I'm not going to be too hard on myself. I'm going to tell you something that a lot of people who have grown up in stressful childhood environments, very stressful environments, whether it was someone was sick and you felt like you had to step up and take care of lots of details, and if you didn't, something would go wrong, right? I love V-necks. When they're like this, they're just hard for me to wear. I gotta rip the threads a little bit. So what happens is it sets the brain up to be always, like if you have a stove and you can't get the knob to go all the way off, it stays at simmer. That's energy burning all the time. A lot of people, even when they sleep, they're grinding their teeth. That's energy burning. Or sucking the inside of their cheeks. And they'll slightly wake up if they feel like their mouth is starting to relax. And then they'll suck it up again. So they're not even getting a good night's sleep. Some people who have been raised in certain environments with certain personalities will have their stove maladjusted to where it doesn't go down to simmer. It stays on warm or medium, so they really pop off if something happens. I hear you, whiner. He loves to whine at me if he feels like he's not getting enough attention. I'm trying to get all the makeup out of it so I don't have to go in for more. That's enough. Who cares? So sometimes when that happens, because people don't know what it feels like to relax, they think relaxing is kind of stupid. And they may say, oh, one of these days I'm going to relax, or I really want to relax, or I'm tired of being this busy. But they create an environment where they're constantly busy. Constantly busy. And if they're not, they feel guilty or shame that they're not doing. They're not a doer. I know you're going to quit that whining. No, I don't. So, what happens is high blood pressure. A lot of people are almost proud that they take I have to take high blood pressure medicine. Almost like it's an award they got for working so hard. I know, right? Because when you say, well, there are some people who, honestly, I don't know how they make it without blood pressure medicine. If they skip a day, I don't know. I don't know what the research is, but I do know that many, many, many people, oh, it's such a high pitch. And with that, my tendinitis, it just like, stop. That's so irritating. If you had tendinitis, you always have that ring anyway. So when you have an additional ring or additional noise, it's one of the things that, this is a perfect example. So for years, I was always on, I seldom got on simmer. I had to be isolated, and maybe even with a favorite person isolated for days before I could stop, before I could get down to a simmer. Very rarely did I get down to off and just relax. And then there are certain things that we're all a little more sensitive to. So there's that. If you don't stop it, I mean it. I don't know what I could do. I know this will relax you. It's lavender water. I'm going to spray it on your coat. Yeah, that'll relax you. There you go. Does that relax you? Huh? Oh, it smells good to me. Okay, so here's what I wanted to bring up. One of the things that helped me calm down is to be able to be aware of my surroundings. If my bed wasn't made perfectly back in the day, I was wound up. I didn't feel like I was doing it right, whatever it was. I'm gonna try something. I know. It's dark. So I would these are dark, and then I'm gonna use a pink. Someone I've never used a lipstick that dark before. I never did have plump lips, but okay, so back to being organized. The problem with being able to relax, for instance, if I had a day off, I would spend it cleaning my apartment, scrubbing it from top to bottom. Absolutely nothing wrong with that. But what I'm saying is, that meant I didn't have a day off. I love that color. It's probably not the best color for my teeth. Certainly not a natural color, but I like it. So, one of the things I had to do was break the habit of letting something that was disorganized in my living space bother me to such a degree that I couldn't stand it, right? Like, I can't stand it when my apartment is a mess. Well, that's silly. You can say whatever you want, but to me it's silly. And as far as mental health goes, it's silly. To say I can't stand it is a very powerful statement. I can't stand it means you can't stand it. You got to listen to what your brain is saying, right? So, one of the things I did was I practiced sitting on my sofa with the magazines. Back then we had magazines. With the magazines on my coffee table. You had Archaeological Digest and Vogue and, things like that. Or coffee table books with mine. I had quite the combination. MCSer and Monet. I love them both. Very interesting. Beautiful. Anyway, I had to sit there and have them ajar. Even on a day off, I like mostly natural. Not even on a day. I was mixing thoughts. On a day off, I usually like natural makeup, or insist on it, basically. I just don't want to have to dress it up. But once in a while, especially if you're not going out, go ahead and experiment with something new and different you haven't done before, like this lipstick color that I created out of mostly eyeshadow. Anyway, so to think about sitting still and not letting the magazines mess with my level of serenity may sound like a very small deal to you, but it was a very big deal to me, because I had to sit there and be able to really understand what it meant to me was that my mom could come through the door at any time and do anything. Who knows? Mostly bad if she saw a mess. It meant all those messages I got for being a bad housekeeper or that I wasn't being a good daughter. It meant so much more than the books on my coffee table, right? But out of habit, I didn't own my apartment in my soul, in my head yet. Up here, I knew I owned it, but I didn't own the space. My mom still did, and I didn't realize that until I was able to sit down, breathe through the anxiety of having that sitting on my coffee table. Then I tried a glass with a little spilt water next to it. It really allowed me to make time, space, to have my true feelings come up and tell me what was going on with me, that here I am, a busy woman anyway, building my business. And I could not enjoy my successes because I always felt like I wasn't enough. I wasn't enough. I could not live with not just the way my mother treated me or that my dad wasn't around. That abandonment, like I can never measure up. I'm ugly. My mom had a favorite saying when I would try to be pretty on the few times, we didn't spend much time together because she was always gone. Not always, but for the most part, she was gone. And I was living by myself as a child. And I did not realize at the time how unhealthy that was, because I didn't have any healthy stimuli. I mean, back then we had channels 4, 6, and 8, ABC, CBS, and NBC, and grew up with Walton's Mountain, and Happy Days, and I think All My Children were the only shows that came in really with good reception. Foil on rabbit ears and all that, sometimes it just wasn't worth it. So it was very isolating. So, that being said, the feedback on whether I was doing right or wrong was based on trauma, because that's what those shows are, basically. A lot of drama and some trauma, and then anything that came in the door. So it wasn't just about my mother's judgments of me. It was also about how I felt the outside world was looking in, as if they had time to do that. But you know how kids are when you're in school, they'll find anything to pick on you for. So I just felt so exposed, even though I wasn't. Nobody knew what was going on in my house. Until I was able to get a therapist who could tell me that sitting with my feelings was beneficial. I ran from my feelings. Even as a fairly successful entrepreneur and participate in my community at a nice level, even volunteer work that I was proud of, I still, until I started practicing sitting with my feelings, I still had no way to feel like I arrived, right? So I'm sharing this with you because there are a lot of people who cannot, as simple as this, part of feeling like you've arrived is to be able to sit in your own home, feel safe, secure, and confident. How's that for an experiment? So I'm just feeling this. Like I close my eyes and I go from the corner where I can tell my eyelashes are, and then I get my top lashes and my bottom lashes. That's my experiment today. I've done it a couple times now. Thought I'd see how that works out. We'll see. Okay. And you fall out. Okay. And then I'll get my white or my light brush. I'm going to smooth that out. I don't know. It looks a little messy. Let me get a Q-tip. Can't use that one. Here's a clean one. So, sitting with the discomfort. So for me, I sat on the sofa, looked at that mess, looked at my coffee table wasn't going to get a ring on it, that I couldn't live with and that wouldn't. I just don't remember. Maybe it was glass or something, because I wouldn't have destroyed my coffee table. Back then, it was marble, glass, or wood. They didn't have all these, not for someone in my income level, they didn't have all those fancy acrylics and stuff back then. So anyway, I'm sitting on the sofa, feeling my feelings, and these ideas are popping up on where this angst is coming from. Well, it's not just about allowing yourself to finally know what your obstacles are to being able to relax. It's also about what are you willing to do about it? Are you willing to relax? That's a biggie. Are you willing to finally let go of the fact that you got ripped off of a childhood? That somehow you got the parents that you did. There's got to be a willingness level to accept that. Look at everything you have, everything you made. If you did have parents that were good enough, in my opinion, they'd be so proud of you. Let's reparent ourselves and be proud of that. And if you're spending time with people who aren't, and you can't stay away from those people because you're living with them, spend less time with them. I mean, I don't know who it was. I think it was an old man in one of the AA meetings. Someone would say, well, I'm doing this, I'm doing that, and they're doing this, and they're doing that. And this old guy would just say, why are you being so stupid? Why are you being so stupid? But they don't know they're being stupid. I didn't know I was being stupid. Ignorant, meaning uneducated, right? So for me to gain knowledge and intelligence, I have to learn. I can learn through my own pain and stumbling over my own you-know-what, or I can start learning from someone else and take some advice. So if you're dealing with some of these things, why don't you experiment with sitting with it and coming up with, okay, I may be unhappy, but what can I do about it? Almost every couple that has come into me has ended up staying together. That's a true story. And that's because I made the therapy not about them as a couple, but about them as an individual. But I quit working with couples because There's too much work. Too much work. Couples are too much work. And you have to have, I was lucky. I had someone that worked in my suite of offices with me in our business, who had much the same approach as I did. And so he would see the husband and I would see the wife, and then we would get together every few sessions or as needed to come together and kind of talk about where each other's progress is and pat each other on the back and celebrate certain victories. And it was amazing. It's not as complicated as people make it. It's just not as easy as some people make it. Growth is hard. You have to be able to sit in your shit. You have to be able to do that. And I don't mean ruminate in it. There's a huge difference. If anybody does want some homework, get the book Courage to Be Yourself. I'm gonna mention that in videos in the past and recently, but she describes how to do it, where you sit with it without using your brain. You simply just pay attention to how your body feels. So I'm gonna let you go for now because I need to get some things done. But I'm rooting for you, and I know you can process these emotions and come out the other side and feel the peace that's meant for you, regardless of what your opinion is of your childhood, or my opinion. Boom. Anyway, all right. Bye for now.